Oh, oh. Never mind that. I that was really anticlimactic. I thought I was gonna keep going. I had this whole entrance thing ready, but the bongos just stop, I guess. In the same way, I guess we just start this show, this Harness Players podcast for 2026 Meadowlands Pace Night at, you guessed it, the Meadowlands. That's where these races are going to be happening, and it's not just the Meadowlands Pace for Saturday. Trove of other major stakes gathering, the very best harness racing has to offer. And not in that way that would make you go, this is the best harness racing? No, this is the best harness racing has to offer. We are going to use stern intonation that shows that we are very excited for the races upcoming. I do mean we, because this is the live round table, which means we can fit many different minds on the show to talk through some of the stakes action, including our regular ITM contributor, Mikey P, including Daily Racing Forum Harnesses editor-in-chief, Derek Givner, and then the chief executive officer. I don't even know. Is that actually your title? Are you the CEO of Diamond Creek, technically, Adam?
I don't know what I am anymore.
You
can give me whatever title you want, Ray. I'm happy with that.
Something about you in the room with those shades on.
I was gonna say there's something about you saying that with the sunglasses that's just so far out.
I'm on a lake. It's great.
Ooh.
I can't wait.
Oh, okay. Maybe that explains why you were maybe a little bit late tonight. You were having to wait out of the waters for
exactly
the show here tonight. But you guys are gonna be happy. Before the show, you're like, there's 11 races. There's no possible way we're gonna be able to keep this under 90. Dare I even say 60 minutes? We're already almost 3 minutes into the show, so that means there's 57 left if I'm going to meet this arbitrary deadline you are holding me to. But I think we can do it because we got a lightning round, I think, for some of the early stakes, and then we'll talk more in depth about the later races on the Saturday card at the Meadowlands. The way that we're going to do this lightning round is basically races 2 through 6. I know who wins every single race because I've handicapped it, and I don't think I'm wrong. So we're going to go around the room here as we go through each race, and you're going to say the horse you like, and I will tell you whether that is right or wrong, and we should be able to just move fairly swiftly on through, as I have to remember how I produced this show. There we go. So the first race that we're going to go through on this lightning round before we talk more in depth about these stakes is race number 2, the Miller Memorial 6-horse field. These are 3-year-old trotting fillies, Hambletonian Oaks Prep. Mike, start with you. Who is the correct horse inside of this race?
The favorite, Nezuko Kamado.
Okay, you're already wrong, but make your case.
I mean, I liked her too. She was awesome, actually. I mean, she ended up failing in the Breeders' Crown, but I mean, she won $550,000 last year. She's come back with 3 straight wins. Her kick's better than any of these, and she's just gonna, I do think, keep improving. I don't think she loses.
Anyone else even think that Nezuko Kamado is remotely correct inside of this race? Derek, Adam?
Nope.
Okay, Adam. All right, it's up to you then. In the first one, who is the correct horse in race number 2?
I'm going with Nancy's filly here. I'm going with Leading Lady.
He gets it right.
Yes.
Adam gets it right. The Leading Lady is absolutely the correct horse inside of that first division.
Okay, Ray. Why is she the right choice?
Well, because for one, she has not been racing badly at all. She did get a little bit of a setup, finishing runner-up in the New Jersey Sire Stakes final, but she's been closing well enough in her races that given she has this short field to contend with and this inside draw, I don't think there's any chance she's getting away 6th. And just the fact that she has been pushing forward so well, I think she can trip out and easily catch whoever is on the lead inside of this race.
She can win this race. There's no reason why she can't. She has the worst gait in the world, man. For such a good trotter, she just not very smooth. I went a completely different way than most people. I went Southwind Chaska. I mean, I know she hasn't really shown much this year, but I have no appetite for Nezuko Kamado as the 1-5 favorite. I don't really love any of the other choices, so I'm just taking a chance that maybe in the third start of the year, Jim Oscarskin will have this horse right because I know the horse has ability.
There is a little asterisk I will give into this lightning round game that if you do pick a horse that is a long shot, then that is admittable because it's at least noble to lose money on a horse that's a really high price.
Well, he was 30 to 1 in an overnight race. What's she going to be in here? 100.
Overnight races don't matter.
5,000 to
They
1.
don't count.
Okay. All right.
Whoa.
They don't count.
Oh, wow. If they don't count, then that means I must be up for the year with everything.
Ask Adam. Adam, when you own a big stakes horse, do you care what the horse does in an overnight race?
No.
There
Nope.
you go.
I care what they do in this race right here. Now, in this race, right, like in a 6-horse field, nobody's going to be big odds. So, like, is anybody a great betting value here?
I mean, I think the 2 if she's the second choice because Nezuko Kamado is probably she's got to be odds on, right?
She's going to be 2 to 5 in this spot. And
Yeah, I was going to say 2 to 5,
everyone else
3 to
is gonna be
5. Yeah,
high,
I agree with Derek.
And in that case, that probably puts Leading Lady around like 5 to 2 or something like that. And for a horse that's going to be in a striking spot, like the only area where I'll give Derek the somewhat correct answer is Southwind Chaska has tripped out well in the past. And in the short field, she could land in that spot. But Leading Lady's just been racing, like has been finishing so well at the very least that even though her gait's it's yucky, she's got yucky gait. I think she can still win the race. That's the first race.
Yeah, because
right.
I agree, Ray, because she won't be too far back. In a big horse field, I think she's at a disadvantage, but here, I think she's close enough that she closes.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
The next one is the second Del Miller division, race number 3. There is only one correct horse, and I will give it as a teaser. She's already won a major stakes race on the year. Adam, do you know who the correct horse in this race is?
Here's the problem, though. Like, I own the 1 horse, so I don't know that I'm in a good position to answer that question.
You are. I mean, you can. Everyone gets 1 abstain. Everyone gets 1 abstain.
I'm gonna win the race with the 1 horse, and she's got no business on paper winning the race, but I'm gonna go with her.
I at least like the gumption for a horse that has only broken stride in her last 2 starts. Mike, who's the correct horse inside of this race?
Well, I see a couple Oak Grove horses in here, so it's got to be one of those. I would imagine that either the 4 or the 7, so it's probably going to be the 7.
Of course it's the 7. Yeah,
of course it's the 7. And Derek, you have to also know that Jailbird Jog is not losing this race.
I think she's a good horse. I think she raced really well last time, but I really like another horse in this race.
Who else could you like?
Derek's giving us prices. I like it.
I really like She's Money. If you go back and watch that replay last time, she tried to leave. There were like 5 horses inside her, left with her. She finally found a seat and finished up the race, quite willingly. I think there's more in the tank there, and we've only seen a couple of starts from this one so far. Don't be surprised if she comes up with a pretty big mile. Listen, it's not going to be easy to beat Jailbird Jog or even Wygreet, who's been really good. I did speak to Marcus Melander today. He thought Creator had a shot of being involved here. So maybe that is a huge price.
I think
so. Here's the thing: like, she gets injured in the Breeders' Crown Final, right? She gets an injury. We have to do surgery on. She comes back 1 qualifier. She throws a shoe last start. If you throw all of that out, does she have a chance? Maybe. She was kind of close in a lot of big stakes last year. Like,
I picked her second last week at the Meadowlands when she broke. I wasn't expecting to throw.
Now again, like, I don't know that she's ready for this. And if I'm fully managing a horse, I'm not even sure I put her in this spot as an owner. But Melander believes, so we're along for the ride.
Well, and also, I mean, this race fairly significant for one that I'm imagining you'd want to target in a few weeks' time.
In a couple weeks, yeah. I mean, it's probably a little early, to be honest, but it took her a while to get back, and here we are. We got to take a chance if we're going to be there in a couple weeks.
But just with how this race shaped, I mean, even though she has the outside draw, I don't see any reason why James doesn't just put Jailbird Jog on the lead and roll like how she won in the New Jersey Sire Stakes back on June the 5th. I don't.
Do we think it's an upgrade from Anthony to his brother?
Do we have to think about that?
I mean,
It's an
Are they both watching right now?
All
Are
due
we
respect to
offending anybody?
Anthony, I think even Anthony would admit James is a better driver.
Yeah.
he's not as aggressive, I'll tell you that.
Anthony's a better talker, though. Much better conversation.
There's no question. Yeah.
I have always put, over the last few years especially, James McDonald is in the same tier in my mind as Dexter Dunn. And this is for whatever reason. Been.
Do you think he's the second best driver in the sport?
I think so.
Okay. That's fair. I
but
like it.
At the same
I
time,
would like a word.
He does get good horses in the same way Dexter gets good horses, but what I've seen James do, especially on the Mohawk circuit, and how he plots races, trips races, and how calmly he can keep horses on the bit, he's got some pretty good hands. And you don't see a lot of guys have that calm of hands and get that much out of horses consistently. That's what I will say. As we move on to the first division of the Stanley Dancer, this is already kind of slogging on for a lightning round, but this is not only the first division of the Stanley Dancer, it's also a candidate for the most laughable morning line of the year. I don't know that anyone would not bet endurance at 9-2 inside of this race, but Derek, I mean, starts to you first. There's no way he's 9-2 here. He's the favorite.
It's funny. I do all my selections off of proof. So I handicap the whole card. And when I'm all done with everything, I'll open up the pages to see what the morning line are. And I looked at it and I saw 9-2 and I saw a fourth choice. I actually laughed out loud. Like a laugh actually came out of my body. Listen, he's far and away the horse to beat here. I mean, are there other horses that can win this race? Absolutely. But I think, endurance, is going to be 3-5 or maybe 4-5 at most.
But he is the correct horse inside of this race. And I don't know that anyone on this panel would really dispute that, right?
I would not.
Yeah. Mike
Nope.
doesn't. Adam doesn't.
Nope.
And they're like, that's to say there's some good horses inside of this race too. Spencer Hanover's good tripping out. Silverstein is fine. He can get checks inside of races like this. Nick Snacken's drawn terribly, and he was even when having to go first up last time. And I have only seen one other race this year, surprisingly, that impressed me as much as Endurance's win in the Oak Grove Trotting Derby. It's another Oak Grove race. If you go and watch this past Wednesday, Funky Buddha beating Show Me Your Ace in the Kentucky Sire Stakes, parking every step of the way and still winning in 49 and change. Endurance almost won the Trotting Derby, going that pretty much same mile, if not for that pesky Spencer Hanover working his exact trip that he needs.
He a 7 horse, right? Was he a 7 horse? I don't know.
Well, yes,
in my head that he was a 7.
See, you can at least remember that, but you can't remember your pride and joy. Oh, you love betting.
I remember watching the race. I remember clearing to the front, but names, I'm awful with names.
Well, we'll at least just address that towards your poor age. We'll go on to the fifth race then. This one will be even faster. Show of hands. Will anyone even try to beat Luadipa? Oh, all right, Derek. How?
Not only did I try to beat Luadipa, I picked Luadipa third.
Wow. You're crazy.
Do you have that much faith in I'm a Lulu?
I picked Darlin's Angel. I like the angle of, well, first of all, Darlin's Angel raced against Luadipa and lost by like a half length when Luadipa set like the slowest fractions on the lead.
And she also was wrapped up, but go on.
Still, she lost by a half length. She was right there with her. I like the thought of, I don't know how good this horse is yet. We haven't really seen her on the big track. We have no idea. And here we're getting the opportunity with a horse. I know she's going to be forwardly placed. I know she's going to be leaving. She's going to be in position. Luadipa's on the inside, but I don't know that's the best thing, because if Darlin's Angel leaves and Be Perfect BG leaves, and they're both going to leave, does that mean Luadipa comes away third and then has to remove to the lead? I just felt like this was a reasonable spot to bet against Luadipa, especially if she's going to be, let's say, 4-5, and you can get, whether it's with Be Perfect BG and you can get 2-1, or with Darlin's Angel and you can get 8-1.
The only case I can make in favor of that is in the Fan Hanover, the way that Ronnie opted to drive Luadipa somewhat conservatively, sitting inside around the turn. He was not guaranteed to get out the way he did coming for home. And I mean, granted, the horse had the class to still put her neck out and put away Be Perfect BG, but that the fact that he made that move versus just pulling at the top of the last turn makes me think that maybe Luadipa could be beat, or maybe he's just, driving cautiously because it's a long season and you luck out in that way to still win. But I don't know. I could also make
time Lasix here. So with that, if you think, imagine she hasn't been at her best and Lasix is going to make her better. That's scary to think.
And yet you're still going against her.
Yes.
I mean, that's the problem. We don't know how she's going to react. It could make her flat, and she might not, she might not respond well to it. So we'll see. She hasn't needed it up at this point. She's made $1 million. So.
Well, I mean, Burke also puts most of his horses on Lasix around this time of their career anyway. And I mean, she might have one race in Kentucky still, maybe two late in the fall. That's the only reason why she wouldn't need to be on Lasix. On top of that, for what you're saying, Mike, like I think the only risk of not responding to Lasix would be if for whatever reason she would tie up from it, because
you never know though. I mean, it's not a guarantee that she's going to improve. I mean, most of the time that they do, but a horse like this, I mean, how much are you going to improve anyway? She's going 48 almost every week. So it's not like that there's a ton of improvement there. Are she going to start going 46 miles? I mean, so I don't know.
I don't know, Adam. I feel like this is all just kind of trivial, don't you think?
Yeah. I think when she draws the 6 and Be Perfect BG draws the 9, the Lasix thing is kind of a non-issue for me. I think they've likely trained her on this a bunch of times. Being at that end of the sport, like they know what they have, and I don't know that it's an advantage at this point, but it certainly satisfies whatever issues they have with her. So again, I got no issues. She's the best horse in the field. She likely does, Ronnie likely puts her where he wants her to be. The other horses kind of fit in around her. She does what she wants. She wins. I think it's as simple as that.
That's pretty much how I see it, which is why when Kevin was asking No Love for Perfect Thought, I mean, I don't think you're going to be a trip out horse and win against Luadipa unless for whatever reason she's going 51 and change to the half, which that's so unlikely. No. I don't even think we're not supposed to have heat dome. There's no heat dome around for any of the trotters to go 46-2 on Saturday, like we saw last week. So I feel like that's even more unfathomable.
Somebody likes to Be Perfect though, because she was favored over Luadipa in the Fan Hanover, and
but that was in Canada, so I think that plays a role too.
Yeah,
but I mean,
Beaton's Canadian. I don't know. Beaton's Canadian. The horse debuted in Quebec, and I'm trying to remember, 75 cents to the dollar on to 6-5. I mean, sometimes, Mike, we've met bettors. Sometimes we're wrong.
They're nice people. I've seen them at the Meadowlands, the Canadian owners. They came for Jersey Sire Stakes races. They seem really into it.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't doubt that at all. But, I mean, they also just having a horse like that, and after one start, sending it off to Beaton the way they did, they must have known that they had something special and are ready for the ride. Race 6, final division of the Stanley Dancer, before we stop keeping it quick and then going a bit more in depth on some of these races. The correct horse here is not really a fun one because he's probably going to be the favorite. I mean, I think this race would be way more exciting if Apex somehow lost, but I think somehow has to do a lot of work to unfold with how this race drew. And besides that, the other main threat in this race in my mind is the other Marcus Melander entrant, an American Power. So does anyone feel Apex is somehow beaten in this spot?
I picked Inexpressible for me. I mean, you get Scotty Z here. This horse has a nice kick at Yonkers. Now, I mean, obviously, the sort of fell into his lap, but I do think he's improving. You get the big track, you get an outside post, and Apex. I mean, this isn't the goal for this horse, and I just think that there's possibilities that maybe that could be a little bit vulnerable in a spot like this. I'm curious to get the price on an Expressible, especially over this big track in this spot. I think he's going to be flying late. Is he good enough? We'll find out, but you're going to get paid if he does get there.
I only caught it briefly. Adam, were you shaking your head no to what Mike was saying?
No, I don't mind Inexpressible, but that race at Yonkers kind of set up perfectly for him. I actually like the American Power. Matthias has driven the horse the last 2 starts. You get the massive upgrade in James. You know, if anybody's going to beat Apex, I think it's this horse. He's as good bred as anybody in the field. You know, it's the right connections. It's the right setup. You know, it's the right development on the horse. I like where he's sitting. I think Apex ends up on the lead. I think American Power sits close. We'll see.
I'm intrigued by Inexpressible as well. I mean, I picked Apex. I think he's far and away the horse to beat in here. But I'm intrigued by Inexpressible because we just don't know. We don't know what he's going to do moving to the big track. Is he going to drop a lot of time or is he not? He's a good-sized horse. He looks like the kind of horse that would like the mile track. So I'm slightly intrigued, and he's a horse that, you know, while Apex will be my main horse in the $50,000 guaranteed pick 4, I will make a ticket with Inexpressible.
It's definitely interesting having a stamina test in that Yonkers trot coming into a race like this, because that race just went so slow. And for a muscly type to power off like that makes sense. But when he has to come back into a speed race, like this race is probably going to be, I don't really know if that's going to translate super well. But, you know, Adam raised an interesting point with Apex maybe getting to the lead. I feel like, though, if he's on the lead and obviously you're trying to prime him for the Hambletonian, the worst case scenario is for him to get headed by his stablemate. So in my mind, I feel like he is probably better of the 2 Melander horses. And if anything, he might want to get prompted or to just finish the race well, since, again, he's probably not going to race until August 1st when the Hambletonian eliminations come around. But a lot to glean, at least for down the road, in those Del Millers, Stanley Dancer, and then the one Jerry Silverman Memorial where Kevin Plaucha is just trying to emphasize that Luadipa is beatable because how much he loves Luadipa. Oh, Perfect Thoughts. Perfect Thought also raced at the Meadows, Kevin. I know what you're going through. I know what you're feeling. I know what you're dealing with.
I'm not sure you do.
I know what he's thinking. He's thinking we should get on to the 7th race. Start talking more in depth. And I think there's a decent amount to talk about here in the Dorothy Haughton, because Twin B Joe Fresh, I don't want to say like resuscitated, because she had just like one clunker race, and then the Roses Are Red, not really that good either. She was doing her stablemate a favor in some respects, but she got a nice rebound at Harris Philadelphia. I thought was gritty against Mickey and Minnie in the Perfect Sting, but question mark here of if she can stay on the motor on this seeming path of improvement while right to her outside Mickey and Minnie. Is she going to have to go another tough trip? I mean, James McDonald can maybe orchestrate a second over toe or something like that, but I don't see him wanting to go first over back-to-back weeks, having to grind the way he did to win. Derek, is the case to be made that this might be the spot to try and go against the rider pair?
I mean, in my, well, I don't see going against the rider pair. I really like Twin B Joe Fresh in this race. I think she has a little bit of a tactical edge maybe on Mickey and Minnie. And I understand Mickey and Minnie beat her last time, but for my money, Twin B Joe Fresh is kind of still like getting to be on the top of her game, whereas Mickey and Minnie was already there. I don't like Louis Girl at all. And I know everyone's flocking to Louis Girl, thinking, oh, she drew inside, she's got the huge post edge, blah, blah, blah. You still have to prove to me that Louis Girl can beat Twin B Joe Fresh and Mickey and Minnie. I'm not convinced that she's of that caliber yet at all. And there's just no chance I'm going to use her on any tickets.
Oh, that's interesting. I mean, you could make the case she was somewhat well beaten in the Roses Are Red, but she still had to come from a long ways out of it to finish best of the rest for third. And then I'll admit she was even in the Perfect Sting last time, got passed by Unreasonable. But I like that she tried to fire out of there. The post forced her back. I don't know. She could potentially trip out in the same way I think Horse like the 3 Unreasonable can inside of that race. But
I'd rather pick Unreasonable than I would Louis Girl, because I think Unreasonable will be a better price, and she's not going to be raced as aggressively in this spot, I would think.
Well, I think maybe aggressively enough for positioning early on. But...
Yeah, but I could see Louis Girl being overdriven, just given who she is and who's driving her and everything like that, versus I see Unreasonable being maybe a little bit more conservatively handled. But I could be wrong.
I don't get the Louis Girl hate, really. I mean, she's been very, very good so far this year. I know she's been better on smaller tracks, but she kicked 26-1 in the Roses Are Red final from a tough spot, a way tougher spot than some of the others had to come. And Twinbee Joe Fresh was still she had to be scraped off the racetrack in that race. So I'm sorry, but she's been very good all year long, and she fits very well here. And the post is much better here. Yeah, she's going to get an aggressive drive, but that's okay. I'd rather have that than the passive drive she got in the final. The Roses Are Red, and that's what ended up costing her the race. Now, she had a brutal trip on in the elimination, but right there she proved that she belongs. And I think that she's been at the top of the division all year. I know that she's has to kind of beat Mickey and Minnie, but she beat Mickey and Minnie in the Ross race at Philly and beat her convincingly. So I mean, the talk of wow, this one wasn't as good this point here, and this is everybody's better now. She's right there, and she's been right there all year. So I don't know. I don't get the hate. I do like her in this spot, and she's going to be a better price than the outside too. So we'll see.
Let me just say something. In that Betsy Ross race, I liked Louis Girl a lot more. To me, Mickey and Minnie was a throw-out in that spot. I didn't think she was ready, and she's not the fastest off the gate. She was a little bit on the outside of the gate, so I didn't really like her there. But we're talking about a different horse now than she was, back in.
She's outside here again, and what does she do as opposed? Is she going to wait for Twinbee Joe Fresh to pull her into the race? What kind of trip did she get here? Because I know where Louis Girl's going to be. She's going to be.
Joe Fresh is not going right to the front here. I mean. In my eyes, she is.
I don't know.
I feel like she is too, and that just makes me wonder what type of trip James McDonald's going to have to work for Mickey and Minnie, because she's continuously grinding. I don't know if she's just going to want to idle for a helmet. I mean, obviously for the horse, it'd be better for her to get a second over trip, but you got to get rolling before the half, and sometimes that means you have to go first up. Am I wrong, Adam, in thinking that this could be a vulnerable spot for Mickey and Minnie?
No, I mean, you asked the question, can the rider horses be beat? And I'm all over Unreasonable here. I think she comes into this race perfect. She draws good. Yeah, Mickey and Minnie's from the 8. I don't love that spot for her. I mean, on our podcast that Sean and I do, I mean, we talked about Twinbee Joe Fresh just a couple of weeks ago being like, should they even race her anymore this year? Should they retire her? But she's kind of proven that she belongs again in this division. She's clearly not the same horse that she was at 4 and 5. I mean, she's better than she was going into that race in Canada in the Roses Are Red, but I'm all over Unreasonable. I think she's sitting on a big one. I think she's close. I think it's a better trip for her in this spot, and she's got a number on her Saturday.
The more of these roundtables we do, the eerier I find it that we keep landing on the same horses.
I don't know if that's good or bad for me.
Well, I think it was
Oak Grove pattern, so we knew you were going to like her.
Well, but also in some respects, I've had a keen eye on her, and then watching how she raced in the Perfect Sting, I thought that was a good race. She was, she was out of winning position, but she did what would be expected of her from where she was, which is she had Louise Girl right in front. Can you just get right by her and get third? She did exactly that, and she's honestly probably been needing Lasix. She's been stuck off of it racing in the Kentucky Series, and the fact that she was so ready to race against 3 times better in that final, she wins that race with one more stride. And just seeing how much pop she had there against a really nice mare for Brett Pelling just tells me that she's on the right trajectory to be at the top level against these pacing mares. And the way this race drew, seeing the gate speed that she's had, she might be able to land in the trip that I expect, because you're right, Twinbee Joe Fresh is going to go forward. You have some other speed to the center of the gate, and from there, I think it's going to be a stalking type that might be able to get by Twinbee Joe Fresh if she's not as strong on the lead like she should.
From a wagering perspective, Ray, if I'm using another horse other than Twin B Joe Fresh in my pick 4, it'll be unreasonable, not Mickey and Minnie. For many reasons. Yeah. One, she's not the fastest away, and 2, there's no value in using 2 of the favorites. So if I was using another horse, it would be unreasonable.
What does Always Be Naughty do in this race? Because she can certainly mess this race up. I mean, she's fast enough that she could throw some interest, and you get Kakali now. So I mean,
he drove her last time, and
I know that, but what I'm saying is he could blast off here for sure and make this race a lot more interesting on the front end.
The difficulty is both Luthers can blast off, but they both have not been responding to it so strongly that I feel like their confidence is shot. So they're just trying to trip out and grab whatever checks.
The 2 could leave too. I mean, Lauren Trenton could definitely fire out with Giggling on the Beach.
That'd be an interesting move since he hasn't raced since June the 12th, and I don't really know anything about
that. Doesn't mean she can't.
I mean, I guess that's
this is
a
a
fair
different
point.
world, right? This isn't racing from the 1980s where you can't come back off a month layoff and race well. These horses come back from a month off all the time, and and are plenty ready.
Yeah, I guess just knowing how hard you got to work to leave and do something like that, that just feels. I don't know. Like, she can at least push out to protect position and make the early scuffle a little muddier, but I don't know, like, in the overall scope of the race, that's really going to matter that much, especially because I think Jason's also going to try and blast off from the inside post because everyone wants to be sitting behind Twin B Joe Fresh. That is the spot to be in because more likely than not, Mickey and Minnie may have too much to do or may have to do it first up. And at whatever price she's going to be, for her to do those trips back-to-back weeks, I mean, she can do it. Just not with my money on it. Any final words, or have we beaten that?
No Twin B Joe Fresh for me. Good luck.
All right. I only asked that question because I needed a second to load in the graphic for the next race. And there it is. Here we go. Oh, damn it. I loaded the wrong race. There we go. Race number 8. And then we'll take a quick little timeout. This is the first of 2 divisions for the William Haughton Memorial. If my math is correctly, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. We'll have to do 5 races in 27 minutes for me to meet my promise. This could be a fairly simple race because Irvin Hanover has been very good so far again. I mean, Derek, we saw the track you saw it firsthand. You saw it with 4 eyes because you were wearing your glasses that night. It was a souped up track on July the 4th. Only 85, but super humid from the heat wave that was coming through. 46 and 3 mile. Do you think that that's taxing on a cooler night, but do you think that maybe that was just a typical Irvin Hanover effort where we don't have to think that maybe that took something out of him?
Listen, that's what he can go. I think that's when you're looking at the top level horses, that's just what they go nowadays on a track like the Meadowlands where it's really humid. You get some moisture in the track, and when the track has moisture in it at the Meadowlands, it's even faster than you would think. Dry track is when it's really fast, but no, the more moisture within reason, it can't be like a deluge, but the more moisture in that track, the faster it gets. To me, it's fairly simple here. It's Irvin Hanover and Captain Optimistic, and let's see what happens. Unless I'll throw in Maximus Mickey somehow wakes up, but I'm not necessarily expecting it.
Yeah, he tried to show a little speed off the gate last time, but then got into a death shuffle out of the race. The horse I posited as maybe a value use is the 6 For Once in My Life underneath. I think that horse has been racing really well so far this season, and just at a most likely long price will probably make playing any exotics worthwhile. But it's really hard. I mean, Adam, wouldn't you agree that more likely than not, by the half, this race is probably lined up 2-7 and just a merry-go-round?
Yep. I think I think 7's on top. I think Scott likely puts that horse on top. I think he's beaten the 4-year-olds kind of handily up to this point. I think he likely drives him that way. I think if we owned the horse, you'd kind of want to put him in that spot and play catch me if you can. Irvin seems to do his best work when he kind of chases horses down, especially recently, as an older horse. So I would expect that kind of arrangement. I think 2 likely lands on top, 7 clears. That's at the half. And then, it's a sprint to the wire. But I think it's got to be one of those 2 horses. I'd land on Irvin, and I'm like allergic to picking favorites. But I think Irvin's likely the best horse in this spot. Just I think age matters.
Well,
experience matters.
And Scott's definitely going to blast off. I think I was under the impression, well, I guess Scott wouldn't mind leading the race. I thought he would love to sit pocket to Irvin Hand.
No, I think he would, but I think he likely lands on top. Yeah. At the end.
But that's also to say, I think Dexter quarter moves more likely than not. Just knowing the horse he has, and I don't think Scott is going to want to play that type of hardball, especially in a spot like that. He's already got a really nice mark in 46 and change. And on top of that, if he can trip out, that's probably even better for him down the road. But Mike, is there? I feel like still, if you think Captain Optimistic can work a trip, you're still having to expect to, topple the current leader of the division, Irvin Hanover.
Yeah, I'd be trying to beat him, Captain Optimistic out of the exacta. That's how I would play.
Okay.
I like Irvin to win. I think he's probably the best bet of the weekend, but his price is not going to be that. I'm glad Captain Optimistic is in the race because that'll help the price a little bit. I do think that, the Captain Optimistic needs to prove it, especially at this level. It's one thing to be dominating the Graduate, and it's another to step up against a couple of these. And so I'd be trying to beat him out of the exacta. I would use Hunt in the Last Dollar. I know he's a small track type, but he's had a really nice year so far. He's very classy. He's speedy off the gate. There's not very many horses that are faster than him early. So he can get a spot, I think, in here, especially when you have Calico Jack, who likes to sit, swing pound. He doesn't necessarily like to blast off. Maximus Mickey's not the same horse. So I think that there's the price that you want to land on there is Hunt in the Last Dollar. And if anybody splits the 2 favorites, it's going to be him.
Oh, well. All right. I feel like the only way Captain Optimistic misses the exacta is if he does get somehow spent. Which doesn't seem that likely to me inside of a spot like that. But that's the fun of gambling is when you're really right, you're really right. In accordance with this also being a fairly quick show, if you cannot tell, I'm also out of rhythm having to keep this thing moving along with the number of races we have. We're also going to take a quick timeout before we come back for more of this Meadowlands Pace Live Handicapping Roundtable presented by Diamond Creek Farm. 22 minutes left before we hit the 60-minute mark. 4 races to go. I think we're going to make it as we got the Hambletonian maturity to talk about. This race could also be fairly simple, depending on how much had that 48 and change mile stung the top pair or the top trio, I would say, inside of this race. Derek, as you were saying, it was a night on July 4th conducive for those types of fractions, but nobody has handicapped inside of this situation where you got trotters coming off of a 48 and change mile, having to go another big effort for big money. Is this a situation where maybe we should be a bit weary of how strongly some of those horses raced, or do we think that, again, it's just a stepping stone to maybe just another nice effort in a race like this?
It's interesting because they're also going a mile and an eighth. I'm usually not a big, hey, they're going an extra eighth of a mile, it's going to tire them out kind of guy. But you know what? They were all kind of spent at the end of that mile. It was, it was a tough mile. I mean, you really got to give a lot of credit to Norway, because to me, if they kept going around again, he wasn't getting passed by anyone. I mean, he kind of has that gameness to him, and I'm really impressed with what I've seen from him there. And there are some other talented horses in here. Walsby raced, her eyes out last week. She was spectacular. I personally like Chimpanzee Dancer a lot. It's that Oak Grove angle. Got to stick with that. Now, this horse looks like a different horse as a 4-year-old than as a 3-year-old. Took shots as a 3-year-old in these big races and just wasn't good enough. I really do think that he's got a chance in here. If he drops the usual 2 to 3 seconds off of Oak Grove to the Meadowlands, he's right there with any of these. So I think he's interesting at 20-1. I think Delaney Hanover's interesting just for the fact that I think she was raced easy the first couple of starts, and I think she's a good horse. And I wouldn't be shocked if she got a piece. So Go Dog Go's super talented too, just hasn't been able to put it all together. So I don't know that I'm giving this race to Super Chapter or onto Norway, but obviously they're the horses to beat.
Oh, sorry. I was just remembering that Beads won this race. Adam, like, again, Derek was right. When you watch that Graduate Series final, the fact that On to Norway just had so much zeal splitting horses, going that quick of a time, that's a data point that confuses me inside of this race, because I've never seen a trotter be able to do anything like that. And the fact that he did do that, it's creating a bias in my mind towards him, because no horse is supposed to still have energy like he did at the end of that mile.
Yeah, it's hard. I mean, he's the kind of horse that every single time he has an opportunity to impress you, he does. I don't get it. I'll be honest. As just a fan of the sport, I don't understand where he gets it from. I mean, he looked beat twice during that mile last week, and he's likely the favorite, although I kind of like Super Chapter. I also really like our Duchess in the spot. I think if I'm picking a number, I'm likely landing on her. I think she closes good. I think that bodes well for these horses in these 1.8 races. 13 horses, that's real tough for the outside ones. You know, the long run into the first turn's kind of bad for those horses, I think. She likely lands where she gets a second. Maybe she gets a third over trip, which I don't actually mind for somebody like that. So I'm gonna pick a number in here. I think obviously Super Chapter and On to Norway get all the money, but I think she's kind of interesting if she ends up landing 10, 12, 15 to 1, which I think she does.
Well, and just going that 49 and change mile from off the speed. Yeah, she has to pass some tiring horses, but I was surprised for her to go that type of effort, because I thought in the Kentucky Sire Stakes at Oak Grove, she was just okay. But she was showing that if you put her in a spot on a helmet or like in a stocking position, that's where she was doing her best work. If I remember correctly, as a 3-year-old, that's also how she flourished. When she was able to trip out like that. So that definitely could be a good angle.
I don't think she wins many races, Ray, in the course of a year, but I think, you know, given the right spot and the right conditions, she could pull it off.
Right. We're just coming into this race in just uncharted territory off of that Graduate trot, because for all we know, the 6 and 8 are even better. And Lord, no, I saw how loaded Tron had Walsby on Oaks Day. And I was so disappointed when she wasn't able to pull off the upset, because it was Conversano last year, right? I'm not forgetting that. Yeah,
that's
no, it's true. I had her. I think I put maybe 200 or 300 to win on Walsby, so I was a little disappointed as well. Yeah,
because she was like 10 to 1.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I loved her in that spot.
$3 on her.
But that speaks to the fact that, you know, all these trainers, they're great at getting their horses ready for spots, but Tron is very good at getting horses ready for spots. And now she's going in for double the purse money, but she has to somehow not regress from going that big of an effort and getting collared by Super Chapter and On to Norway. So I in a way, I hate that I'm unimaginative going with the Tribe, but I think the direction where I feel confident is, I think this is a spot where Dexter's aggressive with Super Chapter. The way that this race drew, I don't see why he wants to just idle and wait. He can go work for a spot. This is a horse that, you know, all through his 3-year-old season raced great towards the lead. And I thought went a big mile on the rim all throughout. He had cover from On to Norway, but around the last turn, he covered way more ground. And On to Norway maybe just had a little extra because he was saving ground at the pylons to the top of the stretch, while Super Chapter was still just grinding to get second. So I'm going to give him a little bit of a mulligan from that performance, and hope that maybe he is put into a closer spot here. Because I mean, yeah, you got speed to the inside. Miracle Maven probably also is going to offer a little bit of speed, but
if you're a 4-year-old trotter, this is the race you're aiming for all year. I mean, they're going for 425,000. After this race, you have to face older horses. This is your one big chance, to score the big payday here. So I think all these horses, this is their goal per se, and if it turns out they can go with the older ones, great. But this is the race you want to win.
Right, which is also why that graduate trot final is so perplexing, because I would think a trotter going 48-3 would be nuclear. Like you don't come back from something like that. And so that could be a case in the side of like where Adam's going, is that we've never seen a horse go that type of effort and then come back going 1 1/8 at that to put in a similarly strong effort. So that's maybe his justification enough to just blow up the whole board, just to take nothing out of that race. But and Chimpanzee Dancer is an interesting one for you in that way, Derek, because the thing that caught my eye with him at Oak Grove, he had a little bit of wind aid to him, but he has a really sharp, like 1/8 of a mile inside of him. And that type of move, if he can get into a nice spot early, can maybe factor against a group like this. There's a part of me that still thinks he might be not as classy as the top ones here, but if the top ones played their hand a week before and he can stay fresh enough, and also worth noting, if he doesn't wash out, because sometimes in really hot conditions, he did that when he won in 53 on June the 1st. He was soaked and lathered and got the easiest trip imaginable or easiest drive imaginable as a result. So that's something to keep in mind with Chimpanzee Dancer.
Let's go back to listen, I agree with you. I like Chimpanzee Dancer, but let's go back to the times for a second. Yeah. If you go back to that June 12th mile where they went 149-3, right? And the track was super fast that day. Look at that in perspective. Look what they went to the half that day, to the 3/4 that day versus what they went in the graduate final. It's all in perspective. When you have horses that go out there and set crazy fractions, you're going to get a crazy fast final time if the horses that are the best horses aren't on the lead. And that's really what you had there. You had a horse that went 121-1 to 3/4 in a trot race, and you had the two better horses sitting off the pace. So you would think, logic would suggest that's going to be a super fast race. So I don't necessarily think that it takes anything out of them, like they can't come back this week and do it again. Now, if you told me Super Chapter was on the lead, went 121-1 and then went 148-3, then maybe I'd say, listen, maybe it took something out of him. But he wasn't taxed early in that mile. He sat most of that race.
So if anything, that's the case to be made against Walsby in this race.
Perhaps, though Tron, he was interviewed, I think, by Jay Bergman this week in the DRF Hunters Digest, and he made it seem like his horse is really fresh and ready to go. So
we could just be in a new era of trotter, I guess, of standard bred. Though the way this race drew, it does kind of stay. I don't think the 11 through 13 have any shot inside of this race whatsoever, and that stinks for Go Dog Go, because he can be competitive against this group.
Tron Smedsham was quoted as saying, the only reason why Greenma, who's the 12, is in this race is because you get 1% back for being in the race. So he said, why not enter?
That's you gotta love Tron for.
Do we want my thoughts on this race, or are we just gonna skip?
Did I not ask you?
Not a word.
Okay, well, Mike, you get the last word then. Here, Mike, you're gonna go. Nope, that's Derek. Mike, you're gonna go full screen here with the field. There you go. It's your time.
Oh, good. I picked Super Chapter. Not that creative, but I do think that this is a race you want to spread out in Maltese. So, if you're leaning on Irvin Hanover and you're leaning on some of the other ones in these pick 4s and pick 3s, I think this could be the race that you want to spread out in. So that would be my strategy here, would be to try to maybe get some of these favorites out of this, especially if you can catch one of these prices in the pick 4. It's definitely going to help with these payouts. So if the 6 or 8 do not win this race, you're going to cash a pretty nice ticket. I probably would use Go Dog Go for sure. I mean, just because what if he does wake up in this race and he has the talent? If they go crazy again, maybe if they do have a a bonk off this last week, then there's a lot of horses that have possibilities in this race. So I could see using the 2, the 4, the 5, the 11. Those are all horses that can win.
This might be a quick conversation, and it's the feature race that makes us have this whole show. $810,000 Grade 1 Meadowlands Pace. My thesis of this race, Brandon Boulevard will have to make a quarter move. Either he has to work really hard to do it, and that is the dagger, or he gets to do it very easily, and he doesn't get caught. How sound of a thesis is this from the panel?
I just think he wins. I don't think it matters.
Wow. I thought it would be more dramatic with the stipulation. Adam, is it really just that simple?
Probably. I think he lands on top, like you said, but it's the Meadowlands Pace and they go for 8-10. So I think it's likely somebody challenges him in the third quarter. If they get to him and he has to go 26-2, 26-3 in the third quarter, maybe the horse sitting second over. I'm not really sure who that is. Maybe Sweet Love and Lou, maybe Gentleman's Club. If he was so good 2 starts ago, it was actually shocking to me that they didn't take the bye. Maybe I read that wrong, but I thought he had the bye and chose not to. But I mean, if I'm in what's his face's
Lambert?
What's his name? The trainer, Lambert. Aaron Lambert. If he's got the option, I'm probably taking the bye coming off that stiff mile where he was 47-4. In that non-winners race that he raced in. I mean, it was like he was so good. Like why race if you don't have to? I guess maybe so you don't draw the 10 hole, maybe, but you didn't win anyway.
He did take the bye, Adam. He took the bye, but he raced in the race. If you catch my drift.
Yeah, that's odd. Yeah. I don't understand that. That makes no sense to me. I'm taking the bye and just hoping I don't draw the 10 hole. But
he treated it as a qualifier, I think. In my eyes.
I mean, if that's the case, Derek, then I like the horse because he likely lands in a good spot. Like you said, Brandon's on the lead by the half, and likely trying to dictate pace. But I think they come after him. I mean, it's too much money. It's a Grade 1. To me, it's the signature race for 3-year-old colts. It's the race that, as a breeder or as a guy that stands stallions, it's the race that matters the most of all of the 3-year-old races across the board. It's the one that guarantees a horse, he's a stallion, to win. So whoever wins this race, we're likely talking to them at some point during the year.
I was going to take that
down
a
long shot, Adam. What if it's a huge upset that you get like a U-Brood or something? I mean, I realize with that one's pedigree, it wouldn't be but I mean, if it's a
Mike, I think does the horse have a chance to stand somewhere? The answer is yes. I think whoever wins this race has a chance to stand somewhere. Now, every once in a while, you get the gelding that wins or you get the horse that doesn't make it. I mean, even a horse like Courtly Choice ends up winning this race. He's a stallion. Like, who would have thought that? But across the board, everybody that wins this race has a chance. Everybody breeds to this horse. Everybody gives this horse a chance. So, yeah. I think if it's Brandon, I think those guys are in the best spot possible. And to be honest, like if you're rooting for people, those are the guys you want to win this race.
Well,
the guys that have invested a ton of money in the sport, you want them to win the race.
And not only that, they've also started kind of positioning themselves with what they've been buying to potentially branch towards breeding, which I mean is what you have to do if you're putting that much money on.
No, I mean anybody that says we're just breeding to race is lying to you, because that's just the precursor to being a breeder. But this is the race you want to win. This is the race that guarantees you're a stallion. of all the 3-year-old races, more than the Breeders' Crown.
It's also interesting hearing you say that, because if I recall, you and Sean were talking in one video where it's just like, are we sending these horses off to stud too early? And you're like, yes, we can't even afford to have more stallions than we do now.
That's true. No, it is. But like, yeah, this is the one race of all of them that matters the most.
Mm-hmm. I guess that makes sense. In that way, you don't want to dilute the field, so to speak. You want horses like the winners.
So as a breeder, or as a guy that stands stallions, like, we're obviously, very, very tied into the outcome of the race.
Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Yeah.
But that, like, all of that is a great handicapping angle in some respect towards Brandon Boulevard, because in my mind, a horse like him shouldn't be able to get second off of that trip in the North America Cup. Now, at the same time, seeing how odds-on Mr. Mamba and Bojangles exited that race, Bojangles with a lung infection. I don't even know. What was odds-on Mr. Mamba's case? He was just, he lost, but I don't remember if there was anything reported.
But they don't need to. He's a gelding. It's like, you don't need to come out with a press release if you're a gelding. Nobody cares.
Then maybe that should be the title of your autobiography. But
nobody cares if you're a gelding by Adam Bauer.
I like that.
But like, all of that aside, like, you could have that as the stipulation of, Brandon Boulevard, then it makes sense that he stuck around. But from the 10 hole to get that position, to be parked the way he was first up and still get second, like, this is a horse that has a lot more grit and tenacity than I gave him credit for from the end of his 2-year-old season. But if I remember, Andrew Harris said that the horse wasn't he sick for the Breeders' Crown, or like he had something going on after setting the Canadian record in the elimination. Am I just making that up? Anyone?
I think you're right.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm glad one of us is also trying to keep up with all of this other information that comes through the pipeline. But all of that aside, he's exceeded my expectations. The only way I think he gets beat is in the typical Meadowlands Pace fashion of they make him have to earn it. And in some respects, because he drew so far inside, that's probably worse for him than if he would have gotten like posts 5 or 6. You don't think that, Mike?
I don't think that there's any horse in here that can make him earn it. I think he's so much further ahead than these. It's him and everybody else. I mean, who's going to press him in here? Honestly,
there's a lot of speed.
Stop the presses. I agree with Mike.
What?
I just don't see any way this horse loses. I don't see what they could do to him to make him lose. I think he's that much better than all the other horses.
Yeah. I think that he gets beaten off of the car. Don't misconstrue those words.
I think if he comes first over, he's still going to win.
And win for fun.
But I think if he has to go first up in a 53 and change clip, a 120 and change clip, and a horse like Sweet Love and Lou is on his back, that's the test.
Doesn't matter.
That is the test. That does matter, because Sweet Love and Lou was closing so hard. Dex had the race wrapped up, and it made him have to give a couple taps of the whip.
Oh my goodness, with a couple of taps of the whip.
Yeah.
He won for fun, Ray.
How are we going to bet this race?
They could have went around another time, and Sweet Love and Lou was never getting past him.
The fact that he was barreling home that fast and as comfortable as Brandon Boulevard was winning, it made Dex still go, come on, boy, let's keep going a little bit.
Also, it's important to say that Dexter Dunn is driving this horse. He's not going to make some stupid mistake. If he comes first over, he's going to do it the right way, and he's going to make sure he has plenty of horse left. He's not going to do something silly.
Right. We won the Elim 3 years ago. We actually won both Elims.
All right, Cannibal.
And, Confederate, he had to come first over. He crushed. If you're the best horse in the field, it doesn't matter. I agree. Brandon Boulevard's by far the best horse in the field. So, and you got the best driver in the sport driving him. It would be shocking if he loses.
I just, as a gambler, I just don't want to succumb to that obvious.
How are you going to bet it?
I think the only way to bet it is Sweet Love and Lou to win.
Okay.
If you're going to bet this race, he's the only other viable horse to win.
I would throw him out of the trot. Is what I would do.
You think Scott isn't going to have this horse teed in the right spot to take a shot?
I think Sweet Robin Lou's leaving. How do you like that?
I can see why, because he's inside of 2 Burke speeds. That would put him in a close spot. Al Poppy's blasting. Really, I wonder what you Brute's going to do. Because you Brute's not really, like, he's quick off the gate, but he's still, like, he's one that I could see wanting to, like, be a rabbit as well and maybe put Al Poppy in a nice little trip. Which is also why I know Dex is going to have to either quarter move or make a first up move. And at that point, look, he's going to be 1 to 5. If he goes through that way and he wins the race in style, then Adam can call up Larriman and Pollock and go, hey, guys, I got a deal for you.
I think Brandon Boulevard would win if I drove him.
Oh,
I
mean,
agree.
you could. Is your license up to date?
That would be fun.
Derek's actually one of the best.
Come on.
I got the whip right here. I'll take it out. I'm ready.
Right, Derek, you were
I
one
like
of the
it.
best on off and pacing the game.
I was okay on Catch Driver, but I'm not one of the best. That's for sure.
I'm way better than Derek at Catch Driver, but I merely just pose the counterpoint, not in doubt of how good of a horse Brandon Boulevard is, but with the reality that he's going to have to work for it. And if he does it, that's great. Somebody somewhere had to work for it, and he still lost.
The reality is that we're past the hour mark, and
there's 2 more races.
You're spending a half hour talking about a race that only one horse is going to win.
Correct.
All right. Bookmark around like the 55-minute mark. This is a mental note for me, because if Brandon Boulevard loses, then we have historical documentation of how never in doubt he possibly could have been in that Meadowlands Pace. We'll quickly go through these last 2 races because I think they are pretty straightforward. Second division of the William Haughton Memorial. We could even lightning round this one because the only correct horse here is Captain Albano, but I'll leave that to the round table to disagree with.
No disagreement.
Mike doesn't.
He wins.
I picked Captain Albano, but I'm not exactly like, jumping up and down and running to the windows to go bet him.
I mean, I'm not either. He's the morning line favorite, but he gets back onto the gate after being in a disadvantageous spot. The thing that's most notable, he's the only horse that has not just bottomed out from that Battle of Lake Erie. Many of the horses that came out of that race have been.
Yeah, but he's been campaigned very deliberately all year long, even through the Borgata. Like he would, one race he was on, the other one he was off, and then for the final he was on. So I mean, he's been very, very deliberate with.
They've given him a lot of time off to recover, so that's why he's absolutely fine. I thought he raced fine last week. I like him, but I could very easily see Ken Hanover winning that race. I thought Coach's Corner was much better last week than I've seen him in the last couple of starts before that. Lou Hill was really good up in the Gold Cup when we last saw him losing to Irvin Hanover. So I don't see this as a Captain Albano slam dunk, even though I picked him.
No, I mean, I could also see Ken Hanover too. I think he just landed in the wrong part of the shuffle there in the Brower Memorial. He had to do all that work. It makes sense then that he only went 47-1. If we were saying that sentence 10 years ago, I think people would be yelling at us.
I'm just hoping if Captain Albano is winning and it looks obvious that he's going to win, that Ken Workington says something like he body slams the field, or or something like that.
You think that's in the repertoire?
I don't think so. Probably not.
I figure you're in agreement on this, Adam. It's Captain Albano.
No, actually, no. I'm an Oakwood Ardennes fan here, actually.
Okay.
And to be honest, I picked Lou Hill in the Gold Cup. He ended up second, just beaten there by Irvin, but he's probably close too. But the way Ardennes closed last week, I like him. So I think, again, from the rail, he likely sets up either a stalking trip or second over trip. So
I will say Oakwood Ardennes. I said something on the air last week. I said I didn't think he was very good, and I went back and watched the replay again. I was completely wrong. He raced great. It's probably one of the best races I've seen him put in. So, my bad there, but I still don't like him.
That's what I want to know, because he's 7-2 morning line. In what world should he be 7-2 morning line?
No chance. He's likely 5-2 or 3-1, probably.
You think he's that low? Captain
I don't think
Albano's
so.
got to be 6-5. Ken Hanover's got to be like 9-5.
He'll take more money
Yeah,
than
but
him.
why are you betting Ken Hanover? Why are you betting Ken
Hanover's
Hanover?
going to be
in
the
that spot?
favorite, I think.
Yeah, he's going to get better.
Oh gosh, really? If that's the case, I'm taking anybody else except him.
I could see you opening up your wallet. Like, I got 20, 40, 60. How much can I do here?
I think you're using the wrong count. It's 100, 200, 300.
The all button.
Yeah, I don't see why he wouldn't take money going 19 and change to 3. Like, he has viable excuses off of that race. He's been a horse that's done well at the aged ranks. That's all just to say that
but not against this group. Not against this group. I got to see it. He's got to do it for me. He hasn't done it against this group.
I'm trying to remember what races against the. I mean, he won the Alarage, which not many horses really drop in there anymore. So maybe there is something to that. But either way, that's still another thing for Captain Albano. Oakwood Ardan. I think, Adam, you'll get a good price on him. I would imagine 6-1 at the lowest.
Yeah, I think he's.
I'll take it. Give it to me now.
No, you must wait. We have one more race to talk about. Miss Versatility, trotting mares. I take a little bit of a chance in this race because Yotilli draws post 10 in a continual run of bad luck for Team Harris. I think the draw system just like randomly picks trainers on occasion to just deal them 10 holes endlessly, and then it just picks the next victim later, because this is like Harris's like 3rd or 4th 10 hole in a major stakes race. But that conspiracy aside, I think this is a bounce back for Elisa Hanover with the way this race drew. She raced okay in the 6-pack, doesn't have to deal with the speed of Bourbonista or Warwi Michelle or our Duchess. This is a pretty soft group overall. I'm hoping to get a little bit. 3-1. I'm just realizing now she's the morning line favorite, so I'm going to shut up because I thought this was a lot smarter than it actually is. What else does the panel have to offer on this race specifically?
My first thought was Elisa Hanover. Like, I had her picked. I wrote down number 1 next to her name, and then I went and looked a little bit more, and I kept coming back to the fact that I think a lot of people are going to be on Elisa Hanover, and I don't feel like she's any kind of lock in here. And so I kind of pivoted, and I went to Lasting Dream. I just feel like this horse did everything she needed to do at Oak Grove. You know, she raced really well. She won the final like she needed to. She has, the tactical speed she needs to get herself in good position. We're getting Lasix on this week, leaving Kentucky, the land of no Lasix and stakes. I think she looks really, for a trainer in Luke Blay, who, always seems to come here ready with his horses. 10-1 on the morning line. Sign me up. Let me know where to put my name.
Wait, you say Lasting Dream has Lasix?
Yes.
Oh, that's not in my program.
Well,
one that you sent all of us.
You that's why they call it a proof. You're supposed to look at it and find out what's wrong, and then
there's supposed to be proof on there. There's no proof.
Well, how about this? When I sent you the driver chain sheet, right? Did you look at the driver chain sheet? Because it's probably on there.
Yeah, and I couldn't understand half of the names on there. Like, I had to email you who's driving by the missile because it was in hieroglyphics.
And I'm telling you, that was an easy one. You should see some of the ones that we get. But let me look at it. I'm opening it up, and there it is. A big L in a circle on the driver chain sheet next to Lasting Dream.
There you go.
That's the difference, right, between 100% effort and 86% effort.
I
the
thought
problem with Lasting Dream is the fact that she's never really beaten, I don't think, this level of horse. So she likes it here, but she's got to step up to beat these horses. And she's an interesting price, but I mean, she needs to prove it versus this level, in my opinion.
Let me just to fight back on that for a second, right? She's got to step up to beat a horse that was 5th last week in Elisa Hanover, a horse in Yotilli who hasn't really been on her game at all for a little bit of time here. A horse in Bravo Angel who always gets a bad trip and really hasn't proven herself at all. Conversano, we've barely seen her this year. So who does she have to prove herself against?
Those are all legitimate.
She's not facing horses that are winning every week in 49.
Well, no, but those are all legitimate, proven grade 1, like top of the sport stakes horses, and she hasn't been that. She's been like a Kentucky Sire Stakes horse,
but she's sharp, and they're not.
Okay, well, we'll see. You're getting your price. That's the thing. That if you're going to get a price, I think she's fine. But if she's 3-1 in here, I wouldn't want her.
Derek is sound in his judgment. For one, based on how our Duchess raced in the Graduate, she exceeded my expectations out of the Kentucky Sire Stakes for sure. How she races on Hambo Maturity Night might better inform what she was beating. Because that's to say, Derek, I don't like that she got caught on the lead inside of that race. But now that I remember, I actually made the case for Lasting Dream in that final because Lasting Dream couldn't see our Duchess going by. She had like.
Are we really using races from last year to make our judgment on this year? I mean,
no, I'm talking about. I just remembered what actually happened on that June 15th race, and I kind of want to change the picks I sent you for the racing form.
Probably still can.
Because I 10-1, I do think that there might be something to that. Because when she was second, she couldn't see our Duchess going by. She had Grand Reserve right to her eye, and she was only fending that one off. And then our Duchess tripped out and went whoop, bye-bye to win. So I think there actually is something there. And, you know, I give you a mulligan, Derek, for not remembering any of the 2-year-olds that won earlier this week because I couldn't even remember those races. And they've been my main focus all year long. Adam, anything interesting in this Miss Versatility, or are you just kind of ready to go back to the lake?
Nope. No, I think I'm all landing on Conversano. I think it's like a horse for course kind of thing. She won the Oaks last year. I think hasn't done hardly any work this year. I don't dislike anything she's done this year. So a couple qualifiers, a race, kind of eased into it. I think she'll be ready to roll. So she's my pick at a number, especially if I can get her at 10-1.
This morning line also seems wrong to me because I went towards Alista Hanover initially because I thought Bravo Angel would be the morning line favorite. Derek, is there any any truth to her being even close to 6-1 in this race?
Who's that? Conversano?
No, Bravo Angel.
No, Bravo Angel's going to take money. But, you know, like I said, this is a tricky race. You know, if I was making the morning line for this race, you know, I would probably make at least Hanover the morning line favorite. You know, but it's a lukewarm favorite. I think this race, they actually got pretty much right as far as who the morning line favorite is. But I think it's a tricky race. I think Alista can win. I think Conversano can win. I like Lasting Dream. I think Bravo Angel, Yo Tilly. You know, I think all of those horses have a shot.
Mike, I didn't ask you yet, did I?
I like Alista. I just think she bounces back. I think her best beats these horses. It's just a matter of can she show up and give her best here in this race. So, and it's, I mean, they're going for 40,000 here. I mean, this is, you know, I think a lot of things can happen. But I do think that one of the main ones will win. I think probably either Alista or Bravo Angel probably take it. I would probably be against Yo Tilly. I would rather she drew inside. I think she would probably be the favorite if she was.
Well, and this race, if anything, a stepping stone to the John Steele, which is the next big mare trot race, if I remember correctly, on Hambo Day. Right?
Is there another Miss Versatility leg before that? There might be.
Don't know.
I don't know that, but that's also to say then there might be like another little stepping stone race to keep in mind in terms of how aggressively things might handle there. Well, I didn't meet my promise, hour 14, but I think that's okay. We were able to keep it fairly timely, and I think pack in somewhat useful information. The whole panel at least got to lambaste me a bit for trying to make the Meadowlands Pace sound more interesting than it might be, which I guess that's the cross I'll bear, trying to add excitement.
August 1st, Miss Versatility at the Meadowlands.
There you go.
Oh, it's going to be on Hambo Elimination Night. That makes sense. I was thrown off that the Hambletonian is on the second Saturday of August this year. That's it's been the first Saturday in August, but I guess that's a whole different show.
It's the first Saturday in August, unless the first Saturday in August falls on the 1st.
Okay, it never had the election day stipulation of the second Tuesday after the first Monday, but only if Wednesday comes first. There's no constitution.
Time to go.
That written.
Yeah.
I hope you all learned something today. I hope you all learned how much I care about this sport and how much we all care about this sport and how much money you could possibly make here. You're on a lake. You don't get to Cowabunga. You're not surfing out there.
It might be. There's water skiing.
You haven't seen me all day.
Tune into the Meadowlands
Exactly.
on Saturday night. There's two $50,000 guaranteed pick 4s. Race number 6, race number 10. There's a new $3 pick 3, and race number 12. There's a $5 late double. Race number 14. There's a mid double in races 8 and 9 with 2 stakes races in it. So lots of great action and 2 pick 5s. I think race 1 and race 8. Check it all out.
Beautiful.
Yeah, a lot of betting opportunities there on Meadowlands Pace tonight. I think even if Brand Boulevard does prove to be the best, it's going to be in a very good race. We're going to have excellent racing all night long on Saturday, July the 11th at the Meadowlands. This has been a production of the In the Money Media Network. If you can believe that this was a production at all, it was very kind of haphazard by me, but that's what doing 47 races this week at Oak Grove will do to an MFer. We'd like to thank Diamond Creek Farm, of course, for always helping us to put on shows like this and to help bring spotlights to the major races in harness racing. Lord knows that we need actual conversations about these races more prominently in the sport for people to access and for people to engage with. Because you can engage with it, share in the comments. We read the comments here on the MI Media YouTube channel. We saw comments all night, mostly from JD Varnell, who's an excellent follower of the sport. Engage with us on Twitter. Your thoughts for the Meadowlands Pace. It's one of the biggest nights in harness racing as we get closer towards the biggest day in harness racing on August the 8th, the Hambletonian. This is not stretching out. This is all necessary. This might be someone's first time watching any of this stuff. They don't know what's to come. They don't know what's coming up. You all can leave while I close this show. Goodbye. See you later. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of the Harness Players Podcast, and may you win all your photos.